Hi there, I'm John and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you are new here, I'm John from Nigeria, and on this channel I review books. If you're a fan of like singular book reviews, book hauls, bookish shenanigans, we do everything here. And if you also love like lengthy book reviews, I write for the website lifeonbooks.com, so I'll put it up here. And so if you enjoy those detailed lengthy reviews, 1000 2000 words, you can check it out. So if you notice different background, I'm home for the holidays, so I've been trying to find where to shoot. So this is the best I can do for now. But as I did last year when I had just recently started the channel, I carried some books over to where I did my holiday then before I came home. And it's very far back, one of my earliest videos. But as usual, every time I'm coming home, I always carry at least, I think in the past I used to carry like 10 to 15 books. But if you hear any small cries, it's my dog's puppy. She recently gave birth, so they are off to that side and crying a lot. So I have a stack of things I brought home for the holidays and some things I have been reading. And also as you know, everybody is trying to get to their reading goal at this point in time. I'm currently at 33 books, which is my equal for most I've read in a year, tied with 2022. Last year I did 32, just one under. So I am probably slated to go past 33 this year, but my goal was 50, which is very still far. It's like 17 books away, and I'm not being able to like read every day or every time, but I'm doing the best I can. So I'll just run you through what I brought home for the holidays, some of the things I maybe want to try to sneak in, and some of the things I have finished. So first good news is that I have finished Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, which I have shown a lot, classic Russian literature, and yes, very massive. It took me almost 5 months. I began in July, at the end of July, so it was a really long time. I also got some comments saying that I was really slow, but at the same time I was not reading every month, or I was not reading a lot every month. So, and it's not like the contemporary books where you can probably go through those a bit faster. But like classics, I would not say Tolstoy is like an extremely dense writer, but I do think like for the nature of the writing being like 19th century and whatnot, it requires more time for you to read it. Like it took me, I think my average was 25 pages per hour. There were times where I would just stay stuck on a specific part. But yeah, I finished about 2 days ago. I was very happy because it's a really big work. It is a commitment. It's the longest thing, not probably, it's the longest thing I've read all year, and I felt very proud because I have not read a lot of classics from that time period, 19th century. I think the only other one I have read would be Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. So this was my second, and I will do a review in the future. Of course, I will do my best with a review in the future of what I thought, even though I did not take notes, but I have a lot of like my core memories from reading it and of the events that happened in here. But for the most part, I really liked it. I think like Tolstoy, you can say it's an achievement in a way because it's just a big cast of characters, so much happening, just a look at humanities at every level in different spheres, and of course Russian aristocrats, high society type living. So you are getting a lot of that in here, but also you are just seeing people as people. I do not plan to touch Tolstoy for another 2 years, but I cannot wait to talk about this on the channel in the future. I also brought with me Wording and Civil Disobedience by philosopher Henry David Thoreau, who I've also been reading since July. And yes, it's so funny that it's just the irony. I read Tolstoy for almost 5 months, and I've been reading a much shorter book for the same amount of time. But in this case, this is actual. It's a philosopher, and while I do not think that this is like difficult philosophy, and it's not even like philosophy per se. It's really an account of a time in a place, with one essay added, Civil Disobedience. So I do think this is really not, he's a philosopher, but this is really not like grand philosophy. So it's just more of the language used. It was a bit harder for me to get into, and other things that I do have an issue with Thoreau and his writing and his like thoughts also. I do think it gets a bit too lost at times, but I'll talk about that more in maybe a wrap up. But funny, I am almost done. I have about 11 pages left here, so I will be finishing today. And yeah, one more to my goal. Those are two things I'm reading physically, but the other things I'm not reading physically. I'm also reading The Anthropologist by Anshigo Savage. I don't know if that's how you say her name, but I've been reading it for over a month now and mostly enjoying it. I'm going to finish it before the end of the year for sure, as it's less than 200 pages. I'm also reading Vladivostok Circus by Elisa Shuadusapin, author of Winter in Structure and Pachinko Palo, which I have read. So this is my third work of hers, and I'm body reading this with the friend who I body read the Pachinko Palo with. So we will discuss it later. And yes, I'm not too far into this, even though my friend has finished, because we set a time duration to read this 10 days starting on the 10th of December. And as usual, I'm most likely the one to delay us, but yeah, I'll be done with this very soon. Also going to finish it maybe in the next 2 days, but yeah, thoughts maybe in a future wrap up. Then there's the 90s by Chuck Klosterman, which I paused eventually, non-fiction surrounding like the 90s in the US, but I paused this one because it's quite big. I started it for non-fiction November, but I have not been able to frequently visit it, even though I'm mostly enjoying it, although it does read like very academic and researchy, so and so. But I do think like the language chosen, like the words chosen to be used there, they feel a bit too heavy. But I do think if it is like research, it is more understandable in that case. So I don't think I can fault it so much on that point. But I'm enjoying like just the account of like that time period, being that it's not somewhere I lived and it's somewhere I'm very interested in. So I just enjoy seeing like what it was like and the different trends that made the 90s, etc. So I am almost at the 100-page mark, so I will probably read that properly in the new year and just leave it for the rest of this year. I cannot overly push myself as much as I want to. Then we have Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Rereading this for a few months now, and yeah, I've been a bit too slow, but I'll probably finish this before the end of the year. And not too much thoughts on it because this was in my 2022 top 10 list. So yeah. The last one that I am still on the fence about continuing. I started this like way back in April or May, and you know I do not do DNF books, but it is a lot. It is really a book that looks at like the, I don't know if to say the Y2K scene, because it's looking at the turn of the century and what like the 2001s were like, but especially from like this very male centric perspective. And yes, just tone, language, everything just puts you into that time, and I think it does the time period so well. And the characters, with the way they speak, it gets under your skin, it aggravates you. As I do think like people from that time, they can only do like just thinking of what the time period was like, especially from the male eye. So yeah, I do not know how to feel about it, and I do not know if I want to finish it, but I guess we'll see. I do not have it here, but I also brought home The Grapes of Wrath, which I promised that I'll read this year. And it's 400 and something pages, but I did make a promise. And sometimes when I want to fulfill a promise, I will fulfill it. So that I am going to definitely finish before next week. Like we still have about 8 days. So I think there's time. I think there's some time. It's just dependent on me. And yes, onto the books I actually brought home for the holidays, not really to read maybe for this period, some to start into the new year. And it's just I like carrying books along with me. I actually carried about, I think I first put maybe 13 into my bag when I was coming, but my bag was so heavy and I was just like, have to narrow it down. So I narrowed it down to like the two I was currently reading, Grapes of Wrath and these. So the first one here is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which I've heard, especially from Modern Ajuma Yena, that this is a fantastic holiday read. People say the film is a fantastic holiday watch, and I have not seen it, but I want to read the book first. And I don't know, I don't think it's going to be this year. I cannot lie. The writing is tiny, so that's one thing, and it's about 450 pages. So I cannot lie, I cannot do it. But I also do not think it's impossible to do in January. So maybe question mark, we'll see. Then I brought Pedro Paramo by Juan Rufo, which I mentioned in a book haul I got recently. And yes, I still look at this book and see the person's highlights and get very infuriated, but that's that. This is very short, it's like 120 plus pages, so I am thinking maybe using this one to push up my numbers. I know there are people who are not a fan of like attacking reading goals with smaller works, and if you know me, I'm not really a small work reader. I am mostly like my average is between that 250 pages to anything 500 pages. I enjoy really big books, but maybe my regular average is like 300 pages. But I would like to meet my goal for the first time in a year, and like you cannot really be too preachy on, oh, don't do this, don't do this, you're not the boss of me, one. But also I don't even think it's that deep. If it's like people who assimilate what they read, if they intake what they read via the small books, I do believe small works have as much impact as big works. Because I remember reading George Perec for the first time. It was two small works, but like stunned me so hard. So yeah, I also carried The Best of Everything by Rona Jaff. I don't know if that's how you say her name. And I cannot tell you my reasoning behind this one, but I knew it was not for this year. It's so big, but yeah, it's not like over, but it's big. I cannot say it's not big. It's 400 pages is a lot to me. So yeah, I just saw it and I just liked seeing it along with me, so I carried it, I guess. I carried Kojo by Stephen King on blind hope that maybe I could still do my one king for the year as I do every year. But yeah, I have not read it. I don't know if I might get to it, and I would really love to do it, but it's getting very late. So yes. The last two, we have Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. This could also be like a late reading goal booster, less than 100 pages, so, and really short, even though the writing, I don't think it's like punishment, but yes, we could do this one, I guess. And the last one I carried was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which I think I want to begin the year with. The past 2 years, I've reread the same book at the beginning of January, which is So Ramblings by Meg Mason, and I'm not anti-reading it for this year, but also I've read it 3 times now, and although I love it so much, I want to give it room to breathe. So since I want to read the Testaments in the new year, which I just got, I was thinking, I've always thought I would revisit this again, just a classic, a modern, I don't know if to say it's a modern classic since it was like released in the 80s, but it is a classic. It holds for a reason. I think it's acclaimed for a reason, and I cannot wait to just get back here, because when I think of books that have, if I think of like writing and literature, 3 packages. There's the writing aspect, like prose aspect, then there's the story aspect, then there's a third aspect, then there's the character and slash character voice aspect, where it's just like engagement. And I think like Atwood, she has every corner, like she touches the base in every corner on this novel, like an achievement in every sense of the word. Story, writing, like prose, she so masterful. I love it, I love it so much, and I cannot wait to reread it next year. So those were my holiday books, my reading feeling, whatnot. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, share and subscribe. I cannot say whether yes or no this will be my last video for the year, but I can tell you that my best books video, December wrap up, all that will be coming next year. They cannot come this year because I do not do a best books video until my reading year is done. Perhaps maybe I might do a post of some of that, but a video is definitely, but it will come early in January, that I can promise. Thank you so much for following me along during the year, and the comments, I love the long comments, short comments, I love every comment. And yeah, I'm so grateful. I will see you in the next one, or maybe see you next year. Bye.